Hi friends, in today's tutorial we're going to learn how to make a simple catch game in Scratch using two different sprites. One's going to be always going to the top of our screen and falling down, and the other sprite is going to be traveling along the bottom catching the falling sprite, and we also are going to keep score as we go. So let's get started. In this game we're going to learn how to move the catcher, how to go to the top, how to fall down, how to catch it, how to keep score, and if you want, you can do the challenge level in the end. This is a Scratch project, so you need to be in Scratch. If you're coming through CS first, remember to hit the plus sign and hit Create New Project. So to get ready for this project, we have to pick a backdrop and we have to pick a sprite to be our catcher. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to copy what I do. Make this your own project. So you're going to go under your backdrop menu and you're going to go into the backdrop menu, and I chose farm. Feel free to choose whatever you want, and then you need to choose a catcher. I chose a bowl just because it seemed like a good thing to catch my hen with. Once you've done that, I'm going to get rid of Scratch Cat because I'm not going to be using him, and I'm going to put my bowl right down here. The next thing we're going to do, now that we have our catcher and we have our backdrop, we can start coding. Now remember that you want to be clicked on your catcher, on your sprite, not on your backdrop, or else your game is not going to work. So making sure that I'm clicked on my sprite and it shows up in the top corner here, I'm going to start grabbing my coding blocks that I need. I'm going to be grabbing blocks from my motion menu, from my events, control, sensing, and then I'm going to use the duplicate function. So the first blocks I'm going to grab are from my motion menu. I'm going to grab a change X by. It's right down at the bottom here. I'm going to grab one of those out, and I am going to then go on to my events menu, where I'm going to grab a when green flag is clicked. I'm not going to join them together because there's some code in between them. The next menu I'm going to is a control menu, and I'm going to grab out an if then, and then I'm going to go down to my sensing menu. I'm going to grab my final block, and it is the key space press block. So now I'm going to build it. I'm going to put this, you can see how this is the right shape to go right in here. I'm going to put my key space press inside here. Once it highlights, you can drop it in. I'm going to add it to my when green flag is clicked, and I'm going to put my change X by into the middle of that if then block. So now I have to customize it. Instead of when the key space is pressed, I want to make this for the right arrow. So I want to make this bowl move right back and forth. So if I choose right arrow, I want to change it by 10 every time the right arrow is pressed. But then I also want to do the left arrow. So what I can do is I can right click on this and I can hit duplicate. And so now, instead of having to grab all those blocks again, I have all my blocks ready, and I just need to make some adjustments. I need to change this to the left arrow to make an assignment for the left arrow. And when the left arrow is pressed, I actually want to change X by -10. That will make it move to the left when the left arrow is pressed. So I'm going to do -10. And then I need one more block, because if I just left my code like this, it would only check for if a right arrow or left arrow is pressed right when the green flag is clicked, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to go into my controls, and I'm going to grab a forever loop. So my program is constantly looking to see if I'm pressing the right and the left arrow. So now try out your code and see if it's working. I'm pressing my right, my left, and it looks like mine is going smoothly back and forth. Try yours out now. Okay, our next step is to add a sprite that we want to catch, the sprite that's falling down. So I'm going to go back into my sprite library. I'm going to choose the hen. Again, you guys can choose whatever you want. And I'm going to call it a chicken, I know, many times in this tutorial. So I'm going to grab my hen, and I'm going to make it a little smaller. So you're going to make it so you can actually catch it in your item. So I'm going to go into my size menu. I'm going to make it maybe 75%. Oh, maybe actually even smaller. So I've made my hen about half the size that it was before. I'm going to go up to 65. There we go. So we can still see it. So you're going to set your hen size. And now we're going to start making sure that it always goes up to the top. We want it to always return up to the top of our screen. To do that, we need to grab 3 blocks. I need to grab a go to random position, because I don't want to always have to know where it comes, and I want it to always move. And I need to grab a set Y2, and that's down here a little bit. Set Y2, and then we're going to change this number. In Scratch, the backdrop runs from 180 at the top to 0 in the center and negative 180 at the bottom. So if you want a sprite to always appear at the top, you're going to put this number as 180. So I'm going to switch it to 180. So now this is my code that lets my hen always go back up to the top in a random position. So once you get this code, I want you to try it out. Click your green flag and see if your hen goes up to the top, or your sprite, whatever it is, and keep clicking and see how it keeps moving around at the random position. Now that we know how to set our sprite to always go up to the top, now we need to let it know how to fall down. So we need to add a couple more blocks to our code. So I'm going to actually pull these blocks off because it's in between. I'm going to add some code here. So the next blocks that we need to grab are from our control menu. We're going to grab a forever loop, and we're going to grab an if-then from our control menu. I'm going to put my if-then inside my forever, and then I'm going to go up to my motion blocks. And I'm going to grab another change Y by, because I want it to always be falling. So as soon as my green flag is clicked, I want it to just be constantly falling. So to fall, I need to put a negative number. I'm going to put a -5. You can change that number if you want it to go faster or slower. So now I'm going to put my blue blocks back inside my if-then, and I need to fill in my if part of my if-then with a block. I do that by grabbing 2 different blocks. One of them is still, I'm on my motions, I want to keep right here, and I just want to grab a Y position from the bottom here. I'm going to pull that out, and then I need to go to my operators menu, this green menu right down here, and I want to pull out a less than. So I'm going to pull out this one right here, and I'm going to put my Y position into that empty circle. I'm going to put Y position is less than -170. Then I want it to go back up to the top. Oh, I need to pull the whole block in here until it highlights and it drops in. So now I'm saying I want it to pull up without you having to hit the green flag again. So try out your code. Okay, so now we have a sprite that falls and we have a sprite that moves along, but we don't have it catching yet. So we're going to do some catching code to make it a little fun. While you're clicked on your falling sprite, you need to add another line of code again. So we're going to grab out a couple more blocks to add this code to make sure that every time that it catches, it's going to make a sound, and then it's going to reset it to go back up to the top. It's not going to fall through my bowl until it gets to the -170. So I'm going to grab from my events, I'm going to grab another when green flag is clicked, and then I'm going to go to my control menu right below. I'm going to grab a forever. I'm going to just attach that on, and then I'm also going to grab out, another if-then. Those are my 2 for my control block. The next thing I'm going to grab out is my motion blocks right up here at the top. I'm going to grab out a go to random position and a set Y to 180, because that means that I want it to go back up to the top in a random spot if my bowl catches it. I'm going to change this to 180. I'm going to hook these 2 together, and I'm going to put them inside my if-then. And then I just have 2 more sprites or 2 more blocks to go. One of them is from my sound. I want to put a sound in there. But actually first I'm going to do my sensing so I can tell you guys why we're doing that. So I can say if I want to put a touching right here. I'm going to grab this touching mouse pointer out, I'm going to put that into my empty spot in my if. And instead of the mouse pointer, I want to say if it's touching, and it's going to come up with your sprite's name, your other sprite's name. If it's touching my bowl, now I want to add a sound. I'm going to go to my sound menu. I'm going to say play sound or start sound. And I'm going to put that right in here. So if it's touching it, play that sound and then put it back up to the top. Now right now it's just giving me bird and I don't want bird. So I'm going to go right here to this tab sounds and I'm going to go down to my sound menu and you guys can play around, find the sound that you want. I chose boing. Once you choose your sound, when you do your drop down menu, it will be in your. Now the only thing that we need to do is add a score component to our game. To get ready for this step, first we have to make a block. You do that by going to your variables menu and you're going to choose new, make a variable, and you're going to call it score. And then you're going to pull out the following blocks to add to step 4. You're going to pull out a set my variable to 0 and a change my variable by 1. So I'm going to grab both of those out and we are going to, and make sure that you're on your falling sprite, we're going to add them to the code that we've already made. So when the green flag is clicked, we want to set the score to 0. So I'm going to change this from my variable to the word score. So now do you see a score popped up here in the top? So I'm going to add this to my sound one that I just made. I'm going to put it above my forever because I want whenever the green flag is clicked to go to 0, not every time that I score a point. The next one, I'm going to put change my score by 1. I'm going to put that right under, before my sound starts, if the bowl is touched, I want the score to be changed by 1. And so now I have a full game. Let's check it out. I'm going to hit my green flag, and it looks like it works. I have a working catch game. Try out your code, see if you need to do any debugging, and I hope you have a fun game to play.
Created using Powtoon.